Welcome to episode 115 of the XRM Toolcast. In this episode, Scott and I speak with Chris Piasecki, an MVP and fellow attendee of the Microsoft Power Platform Community Conference, about the conference itself and how things were in Vegas this year and what we need to take back from Vegas that doesn't stay in Vegas. So if you missed the conference and you want to hear all the comings and going, and if you want to hear one of the most embarrassing parts of Chris Piasecki's life, then definitely this is the episode for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the XRM Toolcast. With me, your host, Daryl, always raising the bar. Scott, I look good in green to row. And Chris, I love answering questions in front of 1,000 people. Yes, how's it going?
Thank you. We're never ever going to let you forget this. You do realize, Chris. Do you want to tell a story? Do you want to tell us?
I don't know. Well, you were closer to it. I was 1 seat away, so we were within 5 feet.
He's got it captured on film. It's cemented in history. Absolutely, yeah. So in the keynote, it was fantastic. There were some really amazing things announced, and there was lots of wow moments. And then after, Phil Topness comes onto the floor and says, "Hey, you can win a free ticket to next year's event." And Chris, I've never seen you move so fast. You were up on your chair. Yeah, it's like me, pick me. And all you had to do is answer what was the highlight of the keynote. And what did you do, Chris? What did you say? Yes, that's exactly what you said. And your face was huge on the screen. They zoomed in on you and you looked like this, like a deer in the headlights. Like, I didn't expect a question. I thought you were just going to give me a free pass.
Kind of, yeah. I was like, I didn't realize there was a skill testing part of the,
But I think you made a fantastic recovery because what you did pick was by far the most exciting thing that was in the keynote. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to share what was the most?
I think Chris needs to redeem himself.
I think so, yes.
It was called Plan Designer.
Plan Designer.
Yes, Plan Designer.
And that's it. No.
So if we ask you, what does Plan Designer do, Chris?
I was not.
Zoom in on it.
So it's basically going to be taking my job. So I don't know if maybe it's not my favorite feature anymore. No. Apparently it's going to create your user stories. It's going to create all your documentation. It's going to basically tell you all about your solution, build up all the components, and show you basically a map of everything. It's almost like having a whole Scrum team or an Agile team inside of the product. So something that's going to be going right in your user stories, solution architecture, which is going to be like mapping out the whole topology of your Power Platform solution. So it's pretty cool.
It looked impressive. We'll see how it actually works in like a day-to-day thing. Yeah. It looked impressive what they were trying to accomplish with it and what they say they can.
Mm-hmm. The demo's we'll see what it does when it's actually out in our hands.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, one of the things about Power Platform solutions is they're often self-documenting, right? So, but actually having some traceability to why you built the stuff, I think that's quite exciting.
Yeah. And I think the huge part about that too is actually being able to actively document what you built too, because that's usually the thing that gets missed, right, in your projects. Yeah, the project starts off, you get everything documented nice, and then as obviously the solution evolves, the documentation doesn't, and it's out of date, it's throwaway.
Yeah, and there was an AKA. It was like Meet Plan Designer or something like that. And we can put that in the show notes. I should probably know it. I should have looked it up beforehand, really, in retrospect.
We brought you here for one reason. One reason.
Right, that's my only reason now to come up with AKA choices. Right, yeah.
URL shortener, that's what you are.
I can create any
URL shortener to row.
Yeah, perfect to create one for this episode.
Yes, absolutely. I can do that. I can. I have full control over ak.ms. I can create a URL shortened for anything you want. So that's good. But
birthday wishes. That'd be great.
But yeah, I mean, what was if someone had interviewed, if you had got up onto your chair and jumped up and down, and Phil had come onto you, what would have you said?
I would have said actually what he eventually said, the same thing, as that was just the most impressive thing, because that's so ambitious, I think, for what they're trying to do with it. But it makes sense that it would be able to be possible and that they'd be able to implement it. So
yeah. Well, AI was obviously a massive focus. Everything seems to be revolved around AI and Copilot.
Year 3 of that, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And there was another demo that sort of Ryan Cunningham did, and like Ryan's energy is just intense. It's just everyone was just leaning in and listening to what he had to say.
That was my first answer to it. What was your favorite thing of the keynote? Ryan Cunningham.
Yes.
Apparently he's not a feature though, so I have to.
He should be. He should be. There should be on the.
Maybe the next release will be in that release.
It is what popped in my head. It's a good thing that didn't actually follow through with that. That would have just been digging myself a bigger hole.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's wave 1, 2025 then. But yeah, so there was that another feature he demoed where it was like pasting into a model-driven app, and it was automatically taking a random bit of data and then automatically extracting information to put into the fields.
Was it like a smart grid or something like that?
It felt like almost here to the point of, in Star Trek, you run into some alien species and like, oh, well, this is like communicating. They just start communicating. It felt like that, where it just, you didn't have to define anything. You just kind of said, hey, I need this to work.
Yeah.
Work. And it was working.
Black magic.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And Ryan was talking about it's like the Power Apps brain.
Yeah.
It's like, we're putting a brain in Power Apps. And
he did have an awesome shirt too.
He did. He always has amazing shirts. Yes. Like, in fact, this is one of the shirts, his old, this is retro now, right?
Yes.
So it's like, I think he has secretly has like a t-shirt designer.
He knows a guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then he gets them limited edition printed. And
So for our guest, it was the Power platform. Was that the logo? Which logo was it? I forget which one's which.
It was the Power Apps.
Power Apps logo with a brain kind of outline on the outside of it. And it was pretty cool. It made sense.
Yeah, no, that was very good. And Lydia did a fantastic demo, using the agents where you can, you give it information about what you want to do, give the connectors, and then you can ask it to do something for you. And there was a little bit of an awkward moment where it was taking a long time, but it did it, and the demo was just fantastic in the end.
It's always awkward when you start cheering for AI. That's what you have to do.
Yes, I think the phrase was like Copilot. We never had any doubt. We always had trust that you were going to deliver. And I think there was a little bit of doubt. I think, in fact, actually, when Charles Lamanna came back on stage, he did say he was sweating back then.
Yes. Yes. Live demos are always great. Live demos at the Pen and AI, I'm sure, are even greater. I've got to do one of those demos, so that's good.
Yeah, but kudos. I mean, like doing live demos. Yeah. I think that's one of the things about sessions is that if you have a live demo, it always feels a lot realer. You get a sort of more sense, and I think it's the jeopardy of it, right? That makes you lean in.
Audience is buying into this.
It's like
this is either going to go really, really poorly, which I hope it does, or it's going to be okay. And
it's not exciting if there's no drama, right?
Yeah,
that little bit of intensity.
And I think maybe the demos that go wrong are actually the ones that we maybe remember more. If you think back to all the sessions we've been, when the demos go wrong. And
yes.
Yeah.
I had Gus Gonzalez had me on for it.
I wasn't going to name names, but you've just gone straight in there.
Well, I was the one demoing it.
Oh, right.
And it just failed miserably. And it was in front of probably 400 people. I mean, it was like a giant room, and it was not working.
Yeah.
It was great.
How did that make you feel?
Like a real winner.
Yeah. Do you
probably not as bad as Chris.
Turn this into a therapy session?
Yes.
Perhaps you just bring out all the demos that have gone wrong.
With my father and my mother.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah.
So you guys did a workshop. How did that workshop go?
It went, it was great. I thought. Yeah, we had some very good feedback, which was good.
Yep.
Apart from one bit of feedback, which was like, this is just one big hack, right?
Okay. Isn't that what life is?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I mean, code. If compared to you got low code. Basically, all other code looks like a hack compared to Power Effects. If you're writing PowerShell scripts and you're used to writing Power Effects, then it's going to look pretty hacky.
Yeah.
I was showing the formula bar guys of my hack that I created for not overlapping the sides of the formula bar, so like the hierarchy for your controls on one side or the properties on the other side. I have a CSS JavaScript hack that I can run in there to fix it, and I sent them an email with the code and I called it Hackety Hack because it's really bad. It's in the iframe, so you have to actually select it within the debugger tool that you're in the iframe. Then you can actually run the JavaScript to get it to work.
Right.
And life's a hack.
Life is a hack. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, one of my tips actually in the session that Chris and I did as well was It's like first rule of PCF: don't use PCF.
Someone took a picture of that. Like, this is going to be epic for the internet. Scott Giroux with first rule of PCF: don't use PCF.
I mean, yes, exactly. I mean, and isn't that the thing though? You know, if you find yourself pushing low-code tools to the extreme where you have to like hack everything and you're creating these crazy workarounds, and then you look at the code and you're thinking, there's no way anyone's going to understand this. You know, there probably is a reason why you need to go into low code and into pro code and write PCFs and things like that. But if you can do it in low code and it's elegant, then then always do it that way. So yeah, there was reasons behind that, but you know, it was just a bit of clickbaity, really. That was all it was.
I don't know if you're going to help your cause for getting new features pushed out for it. Now they're going to think, oh, nobody's using this. Well, I guess we don't need to do anything.
Well, I hope I haven't upset anybody. If I've upset anybody, I'm truly sorry but I stand by it every time. But so you can't hang around for very much longer, can you?
That's the fear, yes. So the airline says, hey, we're going to be delayed by 2 hours. And great, now I can do the podcast. And then they send me another one an hour and a half later saying, oh, actually, we're going to leave on time.
It was just a joke.
It's just a joke, yes. Yeah, but the flight aware says, no, the plane hasn't left California yet. And so I'm like, well, did they find a new plane? That's my fears. Maybe they found a new plane.
So this is where we find out how important the XRM Toolcast is.
Yes. Is it worth me spending the night in Vegas one more night and missing my kids' stuff in the morning, or do I just leave now?
I'm already sort of just leave now, Daryl.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
And it's probably leave now. So, just to be on the safe side, let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Yes.
Sure. Any last words we need to say or need to talk about before we say goodbye?
Any last words? It seems a bit final. I mean, what is there something you know that I don't?
I am getting out of a giant plane, thousands of millions of moving parts. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think my last words would be that coming to events like this really just reinforces how important face-to-face stuff is. Yeah. I mean, being able to do this recording, face-to-face, when we're normally just, behind a piece of glass and over the internet, and it's fantastic to actually connect with people.
I mean, you have to wear pants, but besides that's great.
Now
trousers. I'm
sorry. Yes. Well. So now every podcast from now on, Daryl, I'm just going to question your wardrobe before we start, just to clarify. I mean, you do get up and walk around.
Yes.
So that gets.
You can tell.
I'll try and remember to pack some solid shirts for you next time, so I don't bother you too much.
Every single shirt he's worn this week has all been something very vibrant and very, very attractive to the eyes. Lots of activity going on.
Yes, absolutely. And for those of you listening on without video, then you're missing out on Chris's knees.
Oh, thank you.
Which is they're fantastic knees.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did them myself.
I bet your mom helped a little bit too.
You don't need to cover them now, okay? You get self-conscious about your knees.
Yeah. We'll just X that part out of the. Just crop
that out.
We'll just see you just start open the neck up.
Well, rather than continue making fun of Chris's wardrobe choices, then perhaps we should leave it there.
Call it a day.
Yes.
We'll call it a day. We hope to see another episode coming in the near future. We have some things that are getting scheduled. So yes.
Absolutely. I've lined up a few more people as well to talk on Toolcast. And in fact, for those listeners that we ran into, thank you for listening.
We're up to double digits now.
We are, absolutely, we saw, definitely. There was 3 people, I think.
Moving out in the world.
Funny part is people know Scott, and I think it was because he's got green hair and everything else, and so they know him across the room. Like I'm shaking their hands, and they're reading. Oh, you're Daryl. Oh, that's who you are. They don't recognize me. So
and then look at me. Oh, you're that guy that presented with Scott Giroux. So I'm like, I'll take it.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So yes, we will say goodbye, and until next time.
Until next time.
All right.
Talk later. Surprise! I missed my phone. No, actually, they now they're saying again it's late again. So anyway. So we actually talk about what we talked about.
Yeah, we owe the people more than 15 minutes.
Yes, we're going to get more than 15 minutes. We're going to get what the people want. They want a solid at least 20 minutes. Or an hour.
Yes.
We'll go down.
So, well, I mean, we wrapped it up, so we need to find something else to talk about now. I mean, it's like, I mean, there has to be so much to talk about because we've just been at a conference for like a whole week, and our heads are full of information. So there must be so much to talk about.
So Chris and I, one of our favorite sessions, actually one of the ones I think we both went to, was David Yak's session on low-code plugins.
Yeah.
And I've yet to touch a low-code plugin because, you know, in the pro-code world, but it's something that as a developer you need to know about, right? Because, hey, we need somebody else to do this, or someone else can do this, or this can be done more efficiently, easier, less lines of code even, which is really that's a pretty big sign that you're doing something in an area, the wrong area, if you can do it in another area with less code, right?
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting because it's like, you know, because in our workshop we did a solution, and we've got C# plugins and we've got low-code plugins, and they do exactly the same. And not only instant plugins, so the traditional ones are based on create, read, you know, update, that kind of thing. The automated ones, So then there's instant automated, which runs just when you do the transactions. But then you've also got the instant ones, which just creates a custom API.
And they run instantly, which is a great name.
Yes, absolutely, instantly. Well, you know, it depends on what you mean by instant.
It's very like triggerable or something.
Yeah, that's right. So we create the same functionality to try and show, you know, how different it would be. And actually, in terms of lines of code, it's not actually that much different, really, if you look at the actual plugin. Because as long as you write the plugin, if you use the techniques when you're writing C# plugins, as long, you know, if you've got a good base class, if you're using early bound, obviously everyone would use early bound, right, Daryl?
Of course, anyone that's sane will use
anyone who's sane, yes. Even Jonas. Even
he has a couple pull issues on the early bound trackers.
Yes, exactly. So, but yeah, so if you've got all of that in place, then actually the number of lines isn't, because actually what you're doing then is, when you're writing C# plugins like that, is the code you're doing it's actually trying to show business functionality, like your business logic, and that's why you would factor it all out into all of these reusable classes. But it's, of course, you know, you've got all this other stuff you've got to do. Right. You know, you've got to register the steps, and you've got to manage the source code and all these kind of things. And that's what's so good about low-code plugins, is because it handles all of that for you.
It's all there. All the plumbing's already set up.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can use all of the goodness of you know, solution deployment without having to worry about plugin registration and all that sort of stuff. So
or even the things like writing, is it stateless? All those, you know, those.
Oh yeah, threading.
Yeah.
Goodness, yeah, absolutely. In fact, actually, I wonder. You know, it'd be interesting to look at the differences in terms of, you know, lock, because you can get transaction locking and things like that, can't you? Problems with, if you do things in different orders inside plugins, you can run into sort of things where you get transaction issues. I wonder if you can get the same thing with low-code plugins. That'd be interesting to.
Well, they're going to be in the same transaction, right? So they should. I mean, you shouldn't have an issue in that pipeline. It's just when you have other pipelines that are being triggered that are different transactions that you have issues on those lines.
Yeah, like deadlocks, because you can. Because you can get run into a situation with deadlocks. But obviously the platform's going to retry stuff. So
see how it handles that stuff.
Yeah, it would be very interesting, because you can do update locking in a low-code plugin. So in fact, in our workshop we showed this, is that you know, that technique, remember you used to use it for creating your own custom auto numbering, where you lock the record and then you increment it. And you can do that in a low-code plugin by doing exactly the same pattern, because it all runs in a transaction. So
because it's just running as an actual. The low-code plugin is running underneath as an actual pro-code plugin, basically, and so it's the same thing. It just has a different way of figuring out the logic that it needs to do when it's running. So there wouldn't be any reason why you couldn't do that. Now there's things you can't do in the low-code plugin because there's no Power Affix way to really do it. You know, you can't like call any crazy custom execute functions, things like that, the IOrization service and that kind of stuff. So if you wanted to like run a plugin that didn't trigger other plugins, that'd be something you couldn't do in a low-code plugin. You have to do a pro-code plugin.
Yeah.
You'd have to, and we don't have environment variables, or there's probably no way of passing any shared state around, like you said. Well, you'd have to really hack it.
And I suppose things like caching, and it's going to be a challenge. And I guess performance
is a challenge.
Anyway, right? Yes, exactly. But that's the thing, isn't it? Is that we are using low-code plugins for the convenience, the speed, the agility that you get.
Right.
And I suppose, and it goes back to the point about first rule of PCF: don't use a PCF, right? So it's like first rule of plugins: don't use C#.
That's kind of the rule I was making. I was like, well, wait or really think about before you actually do it, right? Like, can you do this in a low-code plugin? Use it as a last resort.
Yes.
Once they become GA, that is.
Yeah, and then you also have to take into account performance of your system as well. If you're doing something that's crazy large, right? For most, I'm going to say for 95% of the systems out there, they're probably not going to have a plugin that's going to be triggered a whole lot. That's going to cause some performance issues. But if you are in a very, very heavy, chatty type of environment, you may need to be, this is going to run half a second faster per whatever, so I need to actually make this a pro code rather than low code. Right? So that's the kind of trade-off you have to think of.
Right. One statement David did make was around you can't control the ordering of it. So does that mean, because I haven't checked this myself, maybe you have, Scott, so you can't go in and change the step that gets registered and change the ordering?
No, there's no, because it registers the step based on when it actually you import the solution. So the actual you define the low-code plugin, and then it just handles all of that kind of stuff.
Okay, so that's interesting. If you bring in a new plugin that's on the same register, on the same table, same event, I wonder what it's going to do to the ordering. Is it going to somehow?
It's going to be the same way as it worked with ProCode, just last one in. It's just in the order.
Incremented. Okay.
Yeah, that's got to be the way it works, I would think.
Yeah, because it registers. You can go and look at the step, and you can see the step is registered on the Power Effects plugin type stuff.
Yeah.
So I suspect if you do change it, then maybe it will get reset at some point. I don't know. But it's a good point.
It's kind of like we had that age-old problem with business rules, right? You'd have to deactivate and reactivate them to kind of mess up the order. So.
Yeah.
The suggestion from the actual FX team is don't write your plugins in a way that it matters. And I'm like, great if you can do that. It may have to be you have to combine some of those so you don't have to worry about that. Because if you're depending on one plugin to happen before yours and you can't do like a post and a pre, then you probably just need to combine them into a single one in that case. Just ensure that you are updating the value and using the value rather than hoping that it ran the update first before the next plugin fires in that pipeline. But that's a pretty rare scenario where you're doing that type of logic.
Yeah, I suppose.
So,
yeah, it's interesting. We should give it a go.
Yeah.
See what happens if we try and do it, change that number. But there's always going to be limitations with these things. You can't. But I think it's a good starting point. What we have today, as long as once it gets to GA.
Yeah.
And David's a great presenter as well.
Yeah, it's been a while since I think I've had at least one other session with him, but yeah, it's been a while since I've heard him speak. So
you just have to go to MS Learn stuff,
right?
It was
it was the first live session I had seen him from, but obviously seeing him in all his training content.
Yes,
it's kind of a natural.
Dave is the voice in my head. Everything is narrated by Dave in my head.
Same hairdo too.
It's that cool kind of just calm.
Yeah. Yep.
kind of like how I think the voice of God's in your head. I think of Morgan Freeman.
Yes.
So when it comes to anything Power Platform related, it's going to be David.
Yes. Yeah.
David Beck. Yes, definitely.
David.
The Power Platform God of in your head is David Beck.
Yeah.
So moving outside of the
someone's gonna tell David about this. They're gonna say, Dave, you realise that you're in their heads, and he's gonna be like,
he's going to develop a God complex.
Yeah, and this is a good reason that he's going to come and listen to the podcast.
Will not allow that to happen, I'm sure.
Oh, that's for sure.
That's for sure. For sure. No. So you guys had your workshop you did that it sounded like it was basically let's do everything you possibly can do in a solution and make it figure out to see if it works or something along those lines.
Yeah, we were questioning life choices at various points.
Whose idea was it to do that?
Don't do everything.
I mean, how did you guys decide you wanted to do it together?
Well, I mean, Chris, you kind of suggested that we do it together, and
so Chris said, "I don't want to do this alone. I need somebody else." Scott,
right?
Well, it just happened. It was like it worked out. I mean, it's one of those things that just like worked out because In advocacy, we're working on the sample, Composer Real Estate, which is an Azure sample already, but it's written completely in JavaScript. And so, within advocacy, we're like, well, great, let's make a Power Platform version of that, but not something that completely replaces it, but just something that is then using Azure JavaScript with a hybrid with Power on top. And saying, well, why are we using Power in this case? Is because this particular place, there's a significant advantage. It makes it easier for us that we don't want to use Azure Power in this side of things because it's already integrated to other aspects of the enterprise. It's harder to change. And it's that classic composable architecture diagram, where there's the agility at the top. It's Power Apps, Power Effects all over the place with flows doing stuff where you can really innovate and experiment to make all these changes really, really quickly. And then you've got the middle layer, which is like your Azure stuff, which is like specific to your organization. And then you've got the stuff that just never can't be changed, like SAP. All the finance systems, it's just no one's ever going to be able to change. And I think actually Ryan Cunningham said once, I think this was in Hamburg, he said that they're going to be on Mars before you're going to change it.
Your ERP.
Move away from your ERP system. So we decided that let's build this solution, which, like you say, tries to demonstrate everything. And so it worked out because we used the same solution for the workshop and went through it. And in fact, you've contributed to it as well. So you've contributed to the C# plugins.
Yeah, C# plugins, custom APIs, some tests, and I think we've got a whole bunch of other stuff that even on the backlog we want to keep doing.
Yes,
after this. So
a huge amount. And in fact, actually, we'll put a link once in maybe one of the future shows once it's in the Microsoft open source repository, and hopefully we can get some listeners to actually do some pull requests on it and contribute.
I spent a few minutes looking at it. I think I was in the airport waiting for something, and I was like, this looks really great. I just can't wrap my mind about it. So I'm glad I was able to talk and, okay, this is what you guys are trying to accomplish with it. So why does it have all this stuff in here? Now I know why it has all this stuff in here.
It's a kitchen sink solution.
It's a kitchen sink. How do they do this? How do they add this? How does this work? And you can go and look at that, which is a great feature, great resource, not feature.
Yeah,
resource.
Kind of the intent, kind of like a one-stop shop of a real-world reference. So you're not having to go from here and here and here and here.
And we were chatting to George Da Vinci earlier, and he was talking about zero feature deployments. So you have to make sure that your deployments, you can use features if you need to in the future. Okay. So making sure that actually right from the beginning you design your solution so that you can add functionality so we can use custom connectors, so we can use PCF, so we can use managed identities for using plugins, making sure that all of that is understood from the beginning so that you don't run into a situation by designing your solution so it means you can't then actually deploy it down the line.
So the managed identities was the one that I saw the most feedback on, I think, on the Level Up Discord channel of that. So that's something new that's to the platform, right? It's managed identities for plugins. So you want to give a quick walk through of what that is and how that works? Or do we not have time for that?
Well, I was going to say, Scott, I might leave it to you because you struggled with that one probably for weeks.
I struggled to understand it, yes.
Well, no, I wouldn't say struggled to understand it. I meant struggled through.
No, I did struggle to understand it, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I struggle to understand more than people think I do, I should say. They think,
you're Scott Jarrell, you know everything, right?
No, just please explain it to me in simple terms. I need it. If I can just give me the, hey Copilot, describe this in first grader terms.
Right. Explain like I'm 5.
Yes.
Maybe we could do that, just describe managed identities for plugins as though you're explaining it to a preschooler.
I think Copilot would start on fire.
Yes. But so, managed identities obviously are something much bigger than what we're talking about. Managed identities in Azure, being able to create an identity that you can then either system managed identities or user assigned managed identities that basically you can then have an SPN which you can use, which you don't need to manage credentials for.
So an SPN is a
service principal name.
Yeah.
Right? So you can have an identity that you don't need to manage secrets. It's then managed by Azure, making sure that all the authentication is managed. So that's the
it's
managed
kind of like
identity.
Having a bank teller or something that you're on a first name basis with. Like they're not going to ask you to go through and authenticate yourself all the way because hey, I know you, you know me, and you know, and so it removes that. Hey, I'm going to pass a secret over to you, and I hope no one grabs it, or something else weird might happen in between here and there, or I'm going to keep all my secrets over here and hope no one grabs my vault. There's no vault because there's no reason for secrets because you've had that two-way trust of I know who you are and you know who I am, and so we can communicate without having to prove that we are who we say we are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, remember back in the day when we used to have like, you know, you'd create an iOS website application, and you give it an identity, you know, to run under.
Yeah.
And then you would then say, well, that's the identity that we need to authenticate with all the other services you're calling, right? And because you didn't need to then pass credentials, because you knew that was the Active Directory identity that was going to be needed to give the permission to access it. So SQL Server, you know, you can say, right, that is going to run under a managed identity, and then you say, well, okay, if I need that SQL Server to call out to something else, it's going to use that. Or indeed, if you're an Azure function, you can make that Azure function run under a managed identity that then you can then give that permission on a SQL Server. And in fact, in this solution, we do that. We actually have an Azure function that calls SQL Server, so there's no credentials involved. So it's a very straightforward and kind of age-old principle, concept.
It's starting to give me a bit of a flashback or PTSD of Kerberos.
Kerberos, yes, exactly. Yeah, what was the command line tool that you had to use to set the service principals?
It's like SPN.
Top-notch podcasting. What was that tool we used?
Back in the day.
Everyone's listening.
Get off my lawn.
This is why we've got double-digit numbers.
It's when we stare at each other going, I don't know, I don't remember. Do you remember? No, I don't remember. Yeah, we could waste hours. You really are going to miss your plane if we talk about.
Remember those things we used to remember and use were horrible?
Yeah. No,
I forgot about them, and
there's a good reason I forgot about it.
That's right. Well, it's like PTSD. You know, like you're going to black it out of your memory. So there was the bad old days. But so specifically with managed identities for plugins, it's not actually specifically managed identities. Actually, you can use it, linked it to a managed identity, but you can also just link it to just a normal SPN. Okay. So you can actually just create an application inside Entra ID, and then you can use the application ID. And so what it allows you to do, because it's been long since a problem, right? You know, you call a external service inside a C# plugin, right? You're going to have to authenticate with that external service. Now, how are you going to do that? You know, going to have credentials. You're going to have to store a secret somewhere. Where are you going to store that secret? Well, you're going to have to store that secret in either the secure config, which is very tricky to maintain from a deployment perspective, and not to mention the unmanaged layer issues that creates, or you store it as plain text inside Dataverse and read it that way, which is kind of not a good idea.
Or you do some security through obscurity and add some custom hex or something to it to make it a little harder to read.
Yeah,
it's still there.
You can encode. You can have you can encrypt it. Yes, but then if you look at the plugin code, then where do you store the actual seed for that?
It's not too hard to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly. So from a security standpoint, it's always been a challenge. There's been workarounds. So now with this new functionality, what we can do is we can assign an application ID to our plugin, and so that when we're running our code, we can run a acquire token, and it will give us the bearer token for that identity, and then we can use that bearer token to call Azure services, and as long as that identity has got permissions on those Azure services, we'll be able to read it. So there's no secrets involved. And so the way that you do that is you have to, the tricky things, the things that I needed to have explained to me in very simple terms, you need to use signtool.exe, and you'd have a certificate, and you need to have a real production. If you're going to deploy this to production, there is a check that it checks to see the type of type of environment you're deploying to, and if the type of environment is prod, you have to have a real certificate, not a self-signed certificate. But for sandboxes and developer environments, you can use a self-signed cert.
Okay.
But what you do is you have to have a build task, just sign your assembly, and then you take the thumbprint of that certificate, and then you put that thumbprint in the federated credentials subject of your application or your managed identity in Entra ID. And so that way it kind of creates this two-way trust. Because as long as the thumbprint matches, then there is a trust established between the two sides. And then suddenly we can be a lot more secure. We don't need to store secrets. So no secrets, because we don't have secrets.
Secrets are no fun.
No, you don't want secrets.
No more customer calls up at a project that you left a year and a half ago and nothing works. Why does it work? Oh, your secret expired. You know?
Yes, secret expiry. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes it.
Or somebody comes in and it's like, it's day one and they start in a new job and their job is to make sure they're head of security and they say, right, you must rotate all the secrets because
do it now.
Yeah.
What's the worst you can have?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it was good. So we all understand it now.
Yes. Now we are managed identity experts.
It's like they say, clear as mud.
Clear as mud?
Yeah.
I'll try to use my thumbprint next time, see if that works.
Yeah. But of course, there are challenges like with all these things. You've got to how do you manage the certificate and the signing? You've got to store that somewhere in your build process. And in development, you can have a different certificate to production. So you've got to manage that. You're going to store the base 64 encoded certificate in a secret in your build pipeline.
Okay.
So in a sense, it's like defers where your secret is.
All right. I'm a little bit less excited about it than I was 10 seconds ago. But okay, all right. Because it has to actually be compiled with it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can no longer have the same bits in your lower environments as in your prod environment.
No, that's right. If you're going to have a different
That feels very not ideal.
Yes.
But at least it's managed.
But of course,
cost of security, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that if you think about it, it's like, well, actually, if you're building something and running it in your development environment,
you don't want to be connecting the prod.
Yeah, exactly. You really don't want to have it, and so as long as the build process is actually going to store, what you have to do is actually going to create two solutions. One's got your production credentials. As long as that build process is going to do that, then
the same. You have all the code sitting there. You build it once with the dev and build another with the cert, and then you have those two compiled assemblies, and you can choose. Okay, for this environment, we're going to use this one. For this one, we use that one. And at least it's the same exact source code. It just happens to be two different assemblies. One for the cert.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, I feel better now. But then for 60 seconds, I was wondering, what are we doing? Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah. Well, I get that as well. The sudden kind of identity crisis. What am I doing? What am I doing?
What am I doing with that?
No pun intended.
Well done, Scott.
Well, that's it, right? We've done now because I made a joke. Scott made a joke.
You made it funny.
Made it funny. Yes. I actually told I told a joke.
Dad joke. Yeah, you're on your T-shirt.
Well, it wasn't this dad joke. It was a dad joke, and I almost had a spit take from Phil Thomas. Yeah, all of a sudden he almost spit out what he was drinking when I told it. So yes, this is my gift from my kids. I think it was my birthday.
You probably should explain what it is
So
on your
it's a Venn diagram for those that can't see. It's two circles on it, and then overlapping in the middle. And on the right-hand side, it says dad. On the left-hand side, it says jokes. And then there's an arrow pointing in the middle that says where the magic happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that in itself is a dad joke.
Yep. It is. It is, which I keep in my database.
That's dad jokeception. That's what it is.
Right.
Like, but I mean, it reminds me of probably one of my favourite episodes of the XM Toolcast.
Yes, the dad joke episode.
Yeah,
that was great.
Nothing to do with technology or.
And amazingly, it didn't get any more views than like the nerd stuff. I don't know. Like I thought this is going to be great. They can actually share it with other people. That And no.
Did you remember the jokes though?
Oh yes, your joke that I loved was the one about the doctor. Not finding the pen that had his thermometer. That was
If I retell it, then we'll have to reclassify the age appropriateness of this episode.
But that was I enjoyed that one joke. I'd never heard that one before.
Have you told it since then, though?
I've told it multiple times.
Okay.
Yes.
And does it get better each time you tell it?
It's all about the delivery. Yeah, so the delivery gets better. So it usually does get better.
So now you see, you've got to because we're not going to tell the joke. The listeners have got a reason to go back to the dad joke episode and listen to it to find out.
We should have a remember when where we go back and remember a episode we did to get people to go back and listen to.
A new section where we can just be old people talking about. Oh, do you remember when we used to use that SPN tool? And I don't even remember the name of it.
So this is the second time I've had to call you the cranky old person today because you were like swearing at your computer today. It was so. Why is it so slow? It's not working so slow.
Oh no, I swear at my computer all the time. That was not a unique situation.
I just got there to experience this much, so it was fun to see someone else struggle with.
Yeah, and now it's just like we're just like, why don't you understand Copilot? I don't want you to do this. I want you to do that. It's just a whole new level. But you just get arguments with Copilot as well. That's great. It just always backs down. It says, "Oh, I'm really sorry.
Yes, you're right.
So you guys had the workshop you did, and then you also did a presentation as well. So you guys got a lot of bro time this week.
Yeah, we did.
We did, yes. I hadn't thought about it as bro time, but it's been great actually. Yeah, I felt as though it's been fantastic. We've been meeting every week for in a good number of months now actually. Yeah. And I feel as though I our relationship has taken on
evolved.
It has evolved. Yes, it's a new level. I mean, obviously, nothing to like the extent of doing a podcast for however many. How long have we been doing this?
It's been a while.
Oh, you see, we're back to that new section.
It's been a while.
Yes, but then I also did a session with John Taylor, and on Copilot Studio extending Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Okay, cool.
Which was, I mean, talking of live demos, that was exciting. It was jeopardy to the extreme, because at some point, and actually, I had like lots of stories that I could have told you. I created stories that I was going to tell as the AI was thinking, right? Mm-hmm. But something happened. I didn't get to tell my stories because it was doing it really quick.
So your demo didn't fail. I thought you were worried coming up to it that it wasn't working.
Oh no, that still wasn't working. But
so it still blew up.
The part that was working still blew up. The part that was working better. So.
Yeah, that was an expected thing. I knew then that wasn't going to work. Yeah. So that's always better when you actually expect something to not work. Or of course, the other option is you can just say, well, I'm using this as an opportunity to show you when it doesn't work. This is what it looks like. It's like it's completely planned.
In your session, you guys were doing, you were searching for some solution in your list of solutions, and you had environments. You're searching for an environment. You had 20 environments, and you're frantically scrolling through.
I could see.
Use the search function. You're like, oh yes. Right. This is probably what I should use in front of 250 people.
That's right. Today I learned that there's even a search box there. It's like, sure.
I was like, man, I can totally feel this fear right now. Where is it? Why is it? Why is it? I'll come before P. What's going on?
Someone's removed it. Yeah. Yes. It's alphabetical. Is it alphabetical? I don't know. What even? Where is P in the alphabet? I don't know.
Is that a letter? Is that a number? I can't remember. Looks like a 4, right?
All these things happen when you've got 200 people just staring at you.
Waiting, yes.
Yeah.
And you're flashes before you.
Yes, exactly.
So you guys had 10 tips, right? That you were going through, and each tip you had a little a Beatles song that would kind of go with it, right? And then
unfortunately, they didn't get to hear the full extent of it because our AV or our audio wasn't working.
Yeah, but I think the laptops did a reasonably good job of not deafening everyone.
Yeah. And funny part is it worked just fine for my session. So in the early bound generator it says early bound generation complete. I forgot that was connected to the HDMI, which is actually connected to the audio, and so boof, that woke everybody up on that. But the funny part about the 10 tips was the last tip you didn't get to, which was the unit testing, and I was like, no one ever gets to the testing.
That's right.
We always run out of time and we never do our unit tests.
I had a nice little meme in there too.
Which is just like life.
Yeah.
It's just it was a great example.
We're running out of time.
We should have done it test driven. Do the test first.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Because it's the most important aspect. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that one of the parts of the sample that we wanted, the composer real estate thing, is it's based around, a lot of it's based on the well architected. there's Azure well architected, and there's Power Platform well architected. You look at me like you don't know this.
I don't know this. I'm sorry.
Well, it is a fantastic resource of like best practices.
Website?
There's an AKA link for it.
Yes, I think it's So there's AKA/PP/well architected.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, the thing is a lot of it's like finger wagging. You know, like you should do your unit tests.
You shall.
Yes, you should. You should do automated UI testing. You should always do that. But of course, you know, you've got to be pragmatic about it, and so. But also, like, how do you? Because it doesn't say how do you do it. It just, you know, it says you should. So that's one of the things we want to show how to do it, and that's one of the things we're going to be developing further and actually adding more to it.
Cool. Well, anything else topic-wise we want to cover?
When you were talking about the early bound generator speaking to you, the first time that scared the living daylights out of me.
I've gotten multiple people that have told me that.
Because I just walked over to the other side of the office, and I was like, wait, what? There's a meeting going on or something. And I was like, my microphone's still on, or what's going on?
It probably can get removed now. But before, I mean, with the old CRM service util, it would take a minute and a half to do the generation, because it was downloading the entire metadata for everything, not just the entities you want. And so now it's within, I think I had 4 entities I was doing, so it literally was like 2 seconds or something. And so there's no reason to have to tell you that. So there's a little flag. I can just disable it by default. Maybe I'll just go through and do that. But
no, don't disable it. No, leave it there.
Leave it there.
Yeah,
leave it there. It's the nostalgia of it all.
Yes, exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Found how to do a text-to-speech and decided it'd be a good idea just to put it in there for everyone to hear.
Perhaps, maybe what you can do, right? You know, because everything needs to be AI. You know, I know that I've seen that Mark Carrington's got a co-pilot in the CDS SQL, and so we could perhaps like link it into some AI responses, so you could have it say something, maybe summarizing what you've just done, or some Gen AI in it. Yeah, now you've gone a bit glassy-eyed.
Yeah, he's like, no.
Could have the AI tell a dad joke based on entities you've created or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something creative. Yeah.
Yeah, so the people.
Yeah, because that's
what I need to spend my time on.
We always need these things. Yeah.
Most requested feature.
What are you suggesting, Chris?
That was one of the other.
Are you suggesting, Chris, that we always should do think of value? Is that?
No, it's silly.
It's always about the business value, right?
That was one of the other things I was struggling with for my session, was trying to figure out what should I have my plugin do. And in the past, I had it kind of fun where it was designed for your boss and would change everyone's name to Daffy Duck or something. So that way, just for your boss, it looked like everything was messed up, but it just was for him or for her. And I was like, you know what? That's like borderline ransomware. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
or delete every other record in the system.
Delete every other record?
Yeah. Well,
that sounds like it's already been done before for some reason. Or did you do that accidentally or something? Okay.
Yeah, we'll go back to war stories, and there's But so you're staying around for a little bit in Vegas, aren't you?
I am.
You have custody of Elon Tusk.
I do. Well, I did, and now my 4-year-old son has custody of Elon Tusk. So if you're thinking of shared custody, it's not going to happen.
Don't worry, I'm taking it to the courts. Maybe you should explain to the listeners what the Elon Tusk is about.
Oh yes. The Elon Tusk is a walrus. He's not just any walrus. He was the opinion walrus in our workshop, because our workshop was based on the Beatles, right? Beatles theme.
Yes, Magical Mystery Tour.
Mystery Tour.
You use the opinion.
Yes, that's right. Okay. The opinion walrus. Because inside of the album, there's one song, "I Am the Walrus." So
yes.
Cuckoo Cuckoo.
Yeah, Cuckoo Cuckoo. And the opinion walrus was our fun way to come out and express our very strong opinions about how we should do certain things when we're working with, doing any sort of development in the platform, or certain things in the platform, based on how our war stories, our experiences, and our struggles, and
can you remember an example of one of those? I mean, I'm struggling actually just remember opinions. I mean, actually, I think it's mostly opinionated.
Yeah, especially the solutions. I think that's always most highly
contentious.
Contested.
Yes.
Yeah, should you segment? Should you not segment?
Goodness, yes,
Yeah.
that's
It's almost as contentious as the unmanaged versus managed war.
wow. Yeah.
Except that you don't have Microsoft telling you thou shalt do it this way, right?
That's exactly right, because there is no alternative opinion as far as that is concerned.
Yes.
Although you actually thought I did see in the docs them saying, "Oh, you should always segment your solutions." I did remember seeing something like that, so I don't know.
Oh,
It is.
okay.
Really?
I think so. I think they did take an opinion, a very strong opinion.
You should always segment your solutions.
Well, it's a should segment. I don't know if it says always, but it seemed like it seemed to push yours towards segmenting your solutions.
Interesting, because one of your tips actually on our top 10 was to always have one solution.
Right.
Well, if you can.
If you can.
Yes, that was your point. It was like,
Yeah.
you know, if you can avoid it, don't segment, because
Right.
it is much easier to get into a world of pain.
Yeah.
If you,
Is the primary reason for segmenting so you can deploy certain things, or is it to be able to have lower deployment times? What's the primary?
I think both of those
Both
points.
of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got it. You're deep in thought there.
I know.
You're staring at something over
Yes,
there.
I've lost
It's like,
it.
and you look far into the distance. It's like, sorry, we've lost Chris now.
Yes.
We've got
Just going back to my keynote moment. Or not my moment, because I didn't speak in it.
Oh, it's your moment.
Yeah,
It's
my
my
moment.
your
You
moment.
can't take it while you've already been.
I had my moment. It is. It
I'll
is
have
going to be
another
a
one.
defining moment, Chris, in your entire career.
Oh, thank you. I feel so much.
See, I told you we're never ever going to let you
The
forget.
best part is that we were literally like 5 feet from you. It was yeah.
Yeah, you got a close-up video of it too.
Yes, I videoed the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I did like, you know, do the whole kind of zooming thing as he was still. It was like, you know, it must have seemed like a decade to you, like hours of like. It was like, for us, it was only like maybe 3, maybe 5 seconds. I don't know.
Haven't we all done something like that before? Where we know the answer to the question, we just can't remember what it like. We just lost it.
Oh, yeah.
In front of 4,000
In front of
people.
the
Yeah, that's the difference, right?
Okay, so for us, it's a little bit unique.
It's like the next step you could go to take it to national TV level.
Right.
I mean, that's your next level up. Well, I think we should probably start wrapping it up because you do have a flight to catch.
I do, and yeah, I mean, so yes, I do. And
yeah.
I don't have to run this time. I can walk.
And I have a trainer to catch. Mind you, a little less maybe important than your flight, but you know.
Yeah. Right, and we've come full circle as well. So I feel as though this has had a good arc, a story arc to this episode.
It just means we're amazing podcasters. That's all it means.
It does mean that, yes. We'll go with that.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure sitting down with you guys and
Yeah,
having
it was,
face to
absolutely.
face. And we hope that our
That's
listeners
fine.
enjoyed it as well. And we hope that you don't miss any flights. And we hope that my flight truly does leave at the time that it says it's going to leave.
Yeah.
The last time I checked, because so far it's.
And this time we really are going.
This time we are going. We're
Yeah,
not going to
we're
be
not
back.
going to come back with surprise
We're
again.
not going back.
No encore.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, until next time, for real this time. So, see you. Cheers.
Yeah.
This has been the XRM Toolcast with Daryl Labar and Scott Durrell. Produced by Lynn Zawin. If you have any questions or suggestions, please send them to cast@xrmtoolbox.com, tweet @XRM Toolcast, or hit us up on our LinkedIn XRM Toolcast page.